Welcome everyone to our weekly get together at FishPal. This week, fishing has certainly grabbed the attention of the nation, hasn't it? More people are trying the sport than at any other time before. And I've got some superb photos. I've got Jordan Sinclair. He's the gilly on Lower Blackhall and Banbury Beat on the D. And his guests have caught 100 fish for July. Also as well on the D, we've got the lovely Harrison, who's all of 8 years old. He was determined to catch his first salmon before he reached the age of 9. He was fishing with Terry Payton on a Boyne Castle on the River Dee, and he's actually done it. Well done. He's got and caught his first salmon before the age of 9. There'll be a lot of people watching this going, wow. Also as well is that we've got Stephen Patterson's son. They actually were on their annual week at Crathis, and Stephen hooked in 2 grills in the morning on a sunray. He let his son Ewan, pictured, play the second fish, which unfortunately escaped. However, while they were sitting having lunch, Ewan carried on fishing, and the next thing they hear is him shouted he had one on. His dad, Stephen, said he put up a great fight, and it's his first salmon, and needless to say, he's over the moon. And also as well, as I love this photo, we've got Alex's grandson out on Finns Bay fishing in the Hebrides, and this is a photo of Brody, who's all of 5 with his wee monster, and I think that wee monster is going to be going for tea as well. And I had this lovely photo which everybody is liking on the FishPal Facebook, and it is a photo of Peth Northam, I think. She's 12 years old, and she's returning her first sea trout. She caught it on the Upper Tweed, and she was guided by Tweed Guide. How fabulous, all these photos that we're getting in. And I would also like to thank Gary Scott. If anybody actually saw the live the other week I did, when I was really near to tears, because this came through the post, and totally unexpected. Still feel very near to tears every time I see it. So huge thank you to Gary Scott and all the wonderful fly tyers. And I've actually got one of the fly tyers on later, Ali Hutchins, and so he's going to be joining us. But before he joins us, I have the rather lovely Stronach family. Hello, team. Oh, let me put the volume up. Hello, team.
Hi.
How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Now, we've now got Cheyenne. Hello, Cheyenne, in the background. What have you been up to?
I've been at Granny's for 5 weeks. I went away fishing today on the Ness. I went.
Fantastic. So you
Gordon's new rod.
Oh, the Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Yes. Are you? Do you want a Mackenzie rod now?
I think I'd rather use his, so then I can save my money and then maybe get my own one day.
All right. Well, Gordo, I've got a nice photo. What were you doing at the weekend, kid?
I was out at Mill of Kellis Fishery helping out Craig Mackay, the past chairman of the RSAA, and he was holding an event for CVM, Christian Vision for Men, and Refuel. They were doing just an event. Over 30 men showed up, and there was experienced, novices, and complete beginners as well. So it was just a different range of people. So
and at the front. on the water's edge there, that was David Mattia giving a casting demonstration. I think that's social distancing done exceptionally well. I gathered that there was trophies as well on the day.
Yes, so there will. Well, that was David Mattia doing a casting lesson for trout and for salmon as well. So he had his double-handed rod there as well, just giving a wee demo. And there was a few trophies. There was heaviest fish, first fish, and what was the other one?
Don't worry. Tell us what were you doing there, Gordo? What were you actually involved doing?
So I was there as a helper, but I was basically all day running around with the net, netting half of the fish that we got.
Fantastic. So what was the feedback from the 30 gentlemen that were there? Give us a flavour of what people thought about the day and, of course, Callous trout fishery.
Yeah, everyone was saying it's a really nice place. It's really good for being able to socially distance. And I'm blank.
Don't worry.
They thought they would fish again. And for some of them, I would have thought they wouldn't have lasted all day. We even stopped for lunch, and some of them didn't even stop. They were still fishing all day.
And that just points out, everybody, that fishing, really, the pastime of fishing, people want to try fishing. Gordo, you're also on Instagram, and you started last week. Time flies, haven't you?
Yeah, so on my Instagram, I've been doing live videos. Recently, it's been every few nights, but I did one 2 nights ago. And I've been tying some hedgehogs for dry flies for fishing at fisheries or wild lochs or rivers for trout. So I've just been doing live videos for people to watch and maybe tie one themselves.
Fantastic. And I know there's been lots of lovely comments on there as well. Superb demos. And everybody who's watching this, please go and support Gordo, because you're only 15, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's quite daunting to actually do a live. And how can people go and follow you on Instagram, Gordo?
So if you go onto Instagram and on the search bar, type in Gordo Stronach fishing, and it's a picture of me on the River Ness with the castle in the background, if I'm correct, casting. So
brilliant. And family, what kind of fishing are you up to in the next couple of days?
So tomorrow I am away with my dad and his friend to Dunlickety Fishery. So we're just going to go there for a few hours and just have a little bit of competition between us. And
heated competition.
Hopefully get some few videos of me releasing the fish back into the water.
And is it a well-brown trout or is it stock trout? What is it?
It's stock rainbow trout, and I think there's a few blues in it as well.
Nice fish.
And brown trout as well.
And so will you be having fish for tea tomorrow night then?
Yeah, I think I might take one home and smoke it, because when we were at the day on Saturday with the CVM, there was a guy there, really nice guy called Ponty, and he was there with his smoker, and just it was fresh out of the water straight onto the smoker, and it was amazing. So I think I'm going to try it myself.
Well, can you actually take me some photos, because I love smoked fish, and I think we should chat about smoked fish next week. Mum, are you and Cheyenne, are you guys going off fishing or?
Yeah, we're planning the nest, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Planning getting on the nest just because it's local to here, Anne. But Shan and Gordon are, where are you off to?
We're going to try next week fish the River Truan.
Wow.
They're going to do the River Truan because it's alongside Dalwhinnie. So when she heads back to Dalwhinnie, Gordon's hoping to get a wee bit of lodgings with Granny as well at some point if she allows. So they're
She'll
going to
always allow.
so they're going to go down there and try and fish. They've never fished there before, but Dad used to as a child, and the Loch Ericht as well. He used to fish that as a young one. So I think it'll be quite nice to see Gordon and Cheyenne on there, you know.
Definitely.
So,
and Cheyenne, you also I've put a plea out for people because you want to actually become involved in agriculture. So tell everybody what you're actually looking for.
So I'm looking for a place on a farm because I've tried college to get into college, and I've tried an apprenticeship and everything was full and they weren't getting back because obviously of COVID. So I'm looking for a farm so that I can leave school and go on to doing agriculture, because that's what I want to pursue, because I did 4 weeks lambing this year and I loved it. So
okay, so listeners out there, if you're in the Inverness area, the Highlands area, please get in touch, because there's a young lady here who is so hardworking, super polite, and she'd be an asset to any farm within the area. So please get in touch. So I'll see you all next week. Hopefully, by the sounds of it, I'm going to be losing Gordo and Jen again.
No, maybe not. We'll see.
Okay, so
we'll have to go. Sorry, Anne. We'll have to go to Dalwhinnie, and you can just film it there.
Brilliant. I'll come up and join you at Dalwhinnie as well. Okay, so with my mask, of course. So take care, and tight lines as well, team. All right.
Bye. Keep up the good work, Anne.
Tight lines.
Bye.
Bye. Well, there you go. That is the Stronach family, which I'm just actually moving them out of the stream. Now, my next guest, he has been sitting here watching this. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. It's Ali Hutchinson. He's a writer, he's a guide and a fly tyer. He's also a member of the Partidge of Redditch Pro Team and the LTS UK and Ireland Pro Team, and a member of the Scandinavian United Fly Tyers. He's a director at International Hunting Scotland and hosts fishing trips around the world. Well, I mentioned to Paul Little that he was a guest, and Paul said to me he ties a nice fishing fly. He's very knowledgeable on both fishing and fly tying, and he's great company to be with. So I'm going to bring him into the stream. Good evening.
Hi, Anne. I think you must have caught Paul Little when he'd had a little drink or two, because I don't know he's speaking about the same guy, but that's very, very kind of Paul.
Oh, yes. Well, I was actually speaking to him an hour ago, and that's what he said. So I love you guys in the industry, because you're all you know, you don't go and sing your praises very often. So, Ali, you've been fishing for over 40 years, and you started as a course fishing, didn't you?
Yeah, I started off the first 10 years on living in England, believe it or not, down in Derbyshire. My father moved down from Scotland, and obviously we were down there, and I got into that when I was really young. I was 5. And I remember my dad used to quite regularly take me away camping, and we would fish at night for coarse fish on lakes. And yeah, that's how I got started. And my Scottish father was a miner during the war and fished the Clyde and the Avon, who I'm sure if anybody's watching that fishes the Clyde, a very specific way of fishing and specific flies. And he got me into flag fishing very young. So yeah, that's how I started coarse fishing and fishing for grayling and fishing for trout, and then it kind of progressed. I went into salmon fishing, and then I actually didn't pursue salmon fishing at all. I kind of touched it, doing it on and off for a few years, about 20 years ago, in fact longer, nearly 30 years ago, and then kind of went back to trout fishing, did a lot of shooting, and then latterly went really seriously into salmon fishing. I got hooked big time, and then my trout fishing took a backseat. So yeah, it's been 45 years of fishing on and off.
Well, do you know something? We were chatting earlier, and I know you're a member of the Scandinavian United Fly Tyers, and you guys produced a film called Passion Breaks Borders whilst you were fishing in Norway. I know it won awards, etc., but we're going to talk about that. But there's a little segment in there that really just explains to people your passion, doesn't it? So I'm going to bring that in. Okay, so here she goes. It's technology again. Okay, let's play that.
We often talk about fishing, and it means many different things to many different people. But are there such big differences between those that have a true love for fishing and all that it stands for? I got started in fishing when I was about 5 years old, so I've been fishing for 40 years. My grandfather taught me how to fly fish and my father taught me how to fish. Neither my grandfather or my father are with us anymore, they've passed away. So fishing for me was always an opportunity to be with them and respect them and hold their memories dear. And in a way it was a way for me to walk in their footsteps. I started tying flies as a way to support that, and the flies that I tied were really an expression of what I did and how I could take something that was metal and fur and fluff and turn it into something that a wild creature would take and change my passion for the love of fishing. I find that being a participant in the dreams of true friends and helping them realise their dreams is a very special gift and one that no one can take from you.
I would say there'll be a lot of people watching that what you've just said resonates with them. Oh, I've lost your voice. So sorry, Ali.
It's all right. It's strange watching that, Anne, because it feels like almost a lifetime ago. Those guys are. I'm really, really close to those two guys. Jim Wenmark, my very, very best friend from Sweden, and Olli Rautiainen from Finland, and we came together through social media. And we say on that film, it's really embarrassing watching yourself, which might seem strange for some folk to think that I get embarrassed by anything, but it is really strange watching yourself. But it was a way that we captured being with friends. And Jim's father and mother, I'm really close to them as well. And we met, as I say, on social media. And social media gets a bit of a bad rap sometimes. But if it wasn't for social media, we would never have met. And we're from different corners of the world. And fishing brought us together. And we're still really, really close today. and we make a point. We try and see each other each year, and that can prove difficult. But yeah, that trip was. That was the first time I'd fished that river. That photograph you just showed there, believe it or not, was last year, and that's Ollie sitting there. I'm probably about 2 stone heavier on that trip than I was on the other trip, so that's even worse to see. But and also, I'd give somebody a tip if they're ever going to make their first film: never try out a prototype fishing line and cast as badly as I did. It's really embarrassing. I have to say that now I'm with LTS. I've not got the LTS gear on there, but I got approached not long after that by Mark Patterson to go to LTS, and somebody else that was involved with the company over in Scandinavia. And I've never kind of looked back. And I know you had Mark on, and you know how close Mark and I were really good friends. And yeah, I learned a lot from Mark. Mark's passion, when you first meet Mark, it probably doesn't come across as much, but I know him really, really well. He's a good close friend as well, and I can promise you that him and Gary Scott, who's also in the team, a big LTS plug for obvious reasons, but those guys are absolutely outstanding casters and fishers, and their knowledge in the industry. I know you know Gary really well, and Mark. I mean, they are fabulous guys. I think most people that know them well will probably back me up on that.
Well, can I just say, obviously we had him on last week, and he, understated is the one word I could say, because people were saying to me, oh, he used to be a ghillie. I was like, no, the gentleman is so knowledgeable. And if people actually really knew what job he did do in fisheries management, they would be extremely impressed, because I was exceptionally impressed. I just want to give a quick some announcements. We've got Patagonia on this evening. Hello, Rodrigo. And also, as well as that, Ed Ford. Hey amigo. All right, so and also, as well as Tracy's come back, great filming. I nearly started, I was getting emotional on that film as well. And Les Bradford, good evening, Les. He's famous at last. You're not famous at all. You've always been famous.
It's weird. It's weird hearing those names, because those guys were there from the start, like Ed Ford. Ed's, I mean, him and Graham Keir, we started out together at the shows. I remember going to my first show with Ed at one of Davy Newell's fly fests down in Cumbria. Fabulous guys. Les Routledge has been there with me from the beginning as well for many years, and you know, Les from the Northeast. But yeah, it's good to see some of them are actually listening in. I thought they would probably avoid it like the plague, but there you go.
Well, thank you for listening in, everybody, and thank you for your comments. Keep them coming. Any questions for Ali as well, please keep them coming as well, because that's what makes this live. It's really important, because you guys are watching, and ladies, of course, and we really want to know, you know, if you've got any questions. Now, you mentioned shows. You are also known for your intruder patterns. I'm going to show some flies at the moment. So I'm not joking. You're the only person that when I asked for some photos, I got photos of flies. I've had to go and trawl for photos of you. So, and I've even got photos that I've taken from you at shows 4 years ago and had to use them because you don't actually have photos of yourself. So let's talk me through your flies, because you are a member of the Partidge of Redditch Pro Team as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I got approached by Daryl Mooney at a show I was at. I was at an event, and Daryl came and spoke to me. That picture that's up, that just flashed up on the screen, the first one there, that was one that gentleman Jason Corcoran over in Southern Ireland, his father, Connie Corcoran, really famous guy who's been on the river his entire life in Southern Ireland, and had a film out called The Riverman, and Jason approached me for his dad's 70th birthday to design a fly. So I got colours and I designed that, and it started catching an awful lot of fish down there, and it kind of took off. I think that's been in one of my articles in one of the magazines. In fact, I know it has. That was in about the story about that. That's some of my intruders that I've been tying those up. Stuart Foxall, I don't know if Stuart will ever watch this or hear, if anybody will prompt him, but he's got a lot to answer for. I nearly swore there, because he's the one that got me into the addiction of tying intruders. And I got a strange morbid fascination with trying to make things difficult for myself with salmon fishing. So I decided to use them on some Scottish rivers. I got some good results with them, and that kind of got me even more hooked to kind of prove a point that they do work, because they're huge. And I remember turning up on a beat. I think it was on the Tay. In fact, I think it was on Kercock on the Tay. Can't remember, but I was on a beat, and the gilly did the usual. "You're not going to fish with those canaries, are you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, they're awfully big, Ali." I said, "But got big water." He says, "Yeah, but we don't fish big flies like that. Maybe a brass willy gun or something." I said, "But you've got Vision 110s on your spinning rods on your boat." And he says, "You probably got a point, right enough, So, yeah, and they do catch fish, but yeah, I kind of go in, but Stuart Foxall's to blame. He got me into that way and showed me how to do it. I sat with him at a couple of shows, and I'm pals with Stuart, and I've been lucky enough to fish with him. I was fishing with him last year. We were out over in Norway with Mark and a few of the other boys. There was 11 of us all together. Yeah, it was brilliant, and I love tying them. I love taking something that's pretty inert and trying to come up with a new design and then doing it. I've put loads in the bin, and then I'm pretty selective with what I photograph, I must admit.
Well, can I oh gosh, that's I do apologise. Can I just say that this is a photo as well that I wanted to show of you at a show. Talk us through this.
Now let me see what show. That one, believe it or not, was at a game fair down in London. I got invited to be at that show with Wayne McGee from Atta Lodge on the Alagnac River. I'm sure you know Wayne, and you've met him before. A fantastic bloke. And you talk about somebody's passion for the sport. You'll never meet anybody more passionate than Wayne. And I mean, his lodge in Atta, some of the guys have been lucky enough to go out. Wayne's been kind enough to invite me many times, and it's just never came through. It just the kind of stars never aligned. And with COVID this year, I was going to try and get out and see him, because I was supposed to be somewhere, as you know, this year, and I couldn't go because of COVID, and neither could my guests. So I was very tempted to go with Wayne, but I was glad to see that some of the restrictions lifted and Wayne started to get his guests through. But that'll happen for me. I know that Jamesy Stocco went through along with Marina Gibson and Johnny McGee, and they had the Untamed Anglers. They had a fantastic time, and I'm very envious of that. But yeah, so that's the story. Wayne invited me to go on his stand and basically talk about Pacific salmon along with Atlantic salmon, and tying up intruder patterns and others. So yeah, that's what that was.
And also, as well as talking about destinations, I hope everybody, my sound is okay, so I apologise if it isn't. I've got a photo of, because this week you should not have been in the UK, should you? You should have been in the wonderful Newfoundland catching these beauts.
Yeah, there's a little story. There's always a story with me with my fishing, and I like to go to different places that nobody's been, or not many people have been before. I went to Norway that not a lot of people have been. Like last year on Vefsna, the river I went to with Mark and the guys and Stuart Foxall, that river had been closed for 40 years, and it was just opening. So that I had to go to that, and that came at quite a big personal expense to me. My other half gave up quite a lot, for me to go to that. I went during her birthday and stuff like that. So, and then I was in the Arctic and went to a venue in the Arctic with Jim Wenmark that I talked about, my Swedish buddy. And we went somewhere that nobody had been before. And we stayed for 8 days in the Arctic Circle in a tent. And this was an opportunity through a connection of Cara's, my partner's, my fiance's. And it's a friend that we've got, an outfitter in Canada and Newfoundland, and her brother has this place, and they invited me to go and said, look, you should really go. Dean's built this lodge, and nobody from Europe or the UK has ever been before, and there's only a handful of people been, and it's fishing for Atlantic salmon with single hand rods on the top with dry flies. Well, you can imagine, you know me well enough, and it didn't take long for me to say, right, where do I sign? So yeah, I had guests going, I had return guests through Cara's business that come to us every year, and a couple of times a year sometimes. They were really keen to go, and they're now good friends of ours. They had come, they were booked, and I had a very good friend who's a gillie down on the Tweed, Brian Lyle. He was coming with me as well. The two of us were going to partner up. So it wasn't so much me hosting it. I was going with friends, and we were all going to go and visit, and it got cancelled. So yeah, we're going to have to go next year, I'm afraid.
Well, I know we were talking about it at the start of the year, and we've done some stuff at FishPal with it, because the thing is that not only is it the prime time fishing, but it's also the prime time that the world's largest population of humpback whales return to feed on the krill and the squid along the coast. So not only are you going fishing, but you're actually there at the prime time to go and see these amazing creatures.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a fishing geek since I got really friendly with Mark about fish behaviour and Atlantic salmon behaviour. I've been involved in writing articles with Mark as well in various magazines, like Trout Salmon, Chasing Silver, Today's Fly Fisher, all the other ones. And what a lot of people don't know is the Atlantic salmon follow capelin as well, because it's a feed source for them, but so do the humpback whales. So what you've got is an ice melt coming off the coast of Greenland, Iceland, all that kind of stuff. And those ice bears come down and the rich food source comes down. So the humpback whales follow them down, but so do the Atlantic salmon, which is why we were going then, because it's prime time. So we're going to have to just go next year, I think.
Well, you were saying that you've got some places for next year as well. So if anybody's interested, they can get in touch with you as well, can't they?
Yeah, the Dean, as I say, the Dean's sister, they're close friends of ours, and I spoke to Dean about COVID, and as you know, around the world, it's hit everybody. Nobody's escaped from the pandemic. So what we've done is we've just secured everything for next year. So any dates at all during their season, which is very narrow for the peak time, but we've got primacy for that through Cara's business, International Hunting Scotland, that you mentioned. So yeah, anybody can come. We've thanks to you, Anne, we actually got quite a lot of interest from people that were ready to go, and then the pandemic hit us, and as I say, it's hit everybody hard. We're no different to anybody else. But now, as you've already said on this cast, that the interest in fishing now is just taken off, because people are saying, well, we've kind of been caged up a little bit. We want to go and do trips. We want to stay at home, but we also want to venture away when it's safe. So yeah, hopefully next year it'll be fine. We've got a lot of interest, but yeah, there's still some spaces.
Oh, well, thank you for that. That's nice feedback from my newsletter, which has actually gone out already this evening. Huge thanks to Gail Tunner, who actually sends that out for me. She managed to get it out before the start of this, so thank you so much, Gail. Talking about fishing, we've had such a busy month of people wanting to go fishing. Obviously, the international destinations, that's looking not very good at the moment, and I know you have had a lot of interest as well, because you've got your fishing as well up on the Spey, which made the front cover of Trout and Salmon, a Spey secret. Tell us.
Yeah, there's a story. I was at the Glasgow Angling Centre. I think you were there that year, and Andrew Flitcroft, the editor for Trout and Salmon. In fact, you were there, because there's my photo. Andrew Flitcroft was there, and we got chatting about sea trout fishing with him and the team. And I said, we've just been asked, Cara and I have been asked to manage a beat for the on the Spey Kincardine beat, which had been private for about 10 years. The owners of the House of Brewer, who we know, and so we decided we would take the management of that and the leasing of that on, and looking after it and starting to try and get it up and going again. And I said to them, I quite boldly said, I think it's probably one of the best destinations we've got at the moment in Scotland for holding sea trout in good sizes and good numbers. And there's David Fernie, who I don't know if many people know, but David, quite glad he's got the LTS waders on there to get around. But David Fernie's the gillie on the Royal Balmoral beat on the D. And David, he actually won an auction prize. He bid for an auction. I think it was with the GWCT, Game Wildlife Conservancy Trust, and got a week on our beat and came across to fish it. And that was one of the sea trout that he got just to prove the point. I think it was the 7 pounder, that one, or 6 pounder, something like that. It looks, if you see the photo, he took a bit of stick as a gilly for the royal family. If you look at the head of it, it looks like it's got a spinner hanging out his mouth, but it's actually the ripcord for his life preserver. So I was glad to see he was wearing one as well, because I know you pushed them quite big. So yeah, he took a bit of stick on.
And also, as well as that, was caught in one of your favourite pools called the Dead Tree. I love these names of these pools, you know.
Yeah, I can't take any credit for the names of the pools. I have had one pool of my moment of fame was with Stuart Longhurst over in Denmark. I was fishing on the Skjern River with Stuart and his lovely daughter Celia, who've got a company, Baltic Fly Fisher. They were kind enough to invite me out, and I got a pool. I'm not going to say online what the pool got called, but the pool did get named after me because I hooked a really big fish on a single hander when I should have been fishing a big double hander in big conditions. But yeah, but I don't name the pools. But Dead Tree, a fabulous pool. In high water, it's not so easy, but in normal sea trout conditions, which we're not at today on this bay, unfortunately. We've had some rain, but in normal sea trout conditions, an absolutely fantastic pool. Probably, as you say, my favourite pool in the whole beat, which is, I think it's 2.13 miles of right bank. And it's, yeah, I love fishing in there. You can't keep me out of it.
Well, if you're going up to the Spey, everybody drops into the House of Brew, which we all know, because you can't not drop in the House of Brew. Get yourself in the House of Brew, get yourself into the fishing department, and then get yourself up to your beat, Ali. It's perfect.
Sounds like a plan, Anne, really. Yeah, it's a good plan.
I know, get yourself fishing and up onto the Kincardine beat. Now, also as well, is that I wanted to talk about you are really, really big on getting young anglers into the sport. And I know that we've just had the Stronach family on, who are doing, like, you know, they just love their fishing. And I noticed one of your photos that you've done some fly tying with the Inverness Angling Club, haven't you?
I have. Now, I just want to say, there's two things. You mentioned the Stronachs there. That photograph there, that young lad tied his first fly at that club. The Inverness Angling Club is an absolute shining beacon for what, and I know you know them really well, and you've been up there with Ladies' Days on the Ness. They are an absolute prime example of what, you know, all the hard work and effort is in running a club. And I try and go there every season. So in the winter, they run, I think it's every Thursday, they do fly tying classes, and everybody's welcome. And when we go there, I usually try and take some gear to give to them. It doesn't matter whether they're young, old, new, or experienced. I don't profess to be a professional. I'm just part of a promotional team who happen to be, you know, really Partidge, really good. And they're really kind to us. They give us hooks and stuff for the team, and other businesses have been kind enough to do it. But yeah, that young lad tied his first flight, and it was absolutely superb. And he started coming back. But Gordo, and I met Tracy, Steve, the dad, Gordo, and Cheyenne there as well. I just want to put a wee warning out to Gordo. I'm watching him because I see he's tying flies online and he's taking away all the credit. So he's one to watch. So for all the young gillies and guides and everything, you better watch that little fella because he's an uprising star. But Anne, I think it's important to say as well that I think in the fishing industry, we're actually quite good, and we don't sing our praises high enough, that we do try and get youngsters and new people involved in the sport. And you'll find that the community is quite close, and they're very kind if you tap into it. But we mentioned Cheyenne and Gordo there, but I sometimes think we forget about Tracy and Steve-O, the parents. Because I tell you now, if we had more parents like those that encouraged their children and themselves as a family unit into the sport, I think we'd be in a far better place. And I've read a few things that Ian Gordon has put up and stuff about the sport and how it comes up in his blog posts, and others have written about it. And I am passionate. I support a few charities, Scottish Youth Countryside Education Trust through my fiancée Cara, who deals with basically outdoors, getting kids outdoors and getting involved. But on that note about the Stronachs, they're stars of the show, and they do a lot for the industry. and sometimes I think it's important to give back. So you mentioned our beat on the Spey that we manage. We've also got another river that we were fortunate enough to have as well, called the River Glass. That's not that far from the Stronachs, and the Spey's not that far from them either. Gordo there just did some work with the new people coming to the sport, the adults, and he was saying he was running about with a net. I've seen Cheyenne and Tracy also at events as well with the Spey Angling Association. So I'm gonna make an invite to them as well, just to say thanks, Anne. And I know I pre-warned you about this. I'm gonna run about with a net for them, so, as a whole family, so they can just we're in touch anyway, but they can come and they can fish, and I will guide for them on our beat. So if they're fishing for trout on the Troom and they're down this way or whatever, but I'd like them to come as a family, and we'll look after them for the day, because they've looked after us for the day as well, you know, in various ways. So yeah, I think that's important, Anne, and I hope that comes across.
Oh, thank you. And also, as well as, can I just say, is that Steve-O, their dad, he actually creates, he's a wood turner. And he does the most, and I'm just looking for my pen, he does the most amazing pens with fish on them. And I did an event with the Inverness Angling Club, and the people that had organised it with me, he actually went and created us all a pen each. And so as a family, they do give a lot. And I know Gordo and Cheyenne and Tracy and Steve will be absolutely thrilled with that. Talking about kids, young people, sorry. The Junior McNabb Challenge. I know it's one of the charities that you support, and at the Scottish Game Fair at Scone Palace, you had over 200 photo of it. Talk us through about the weekend, because I've got some feedback as well from people. So let's just tell us a little bit more.
Well, I can't take absolutely one single shred of credit for that. The lady standing there with the ticket next to the gentleman with the box is my long-suffering other half, and she's the chair for the Scottish side of Basque. So they arranged this Junior McNabb, and the folk from Gaia agreed to do the fishing part. So basically what it is, it's to encourage kids into doing the world famous McNabb, and what they do is they have casting tuition 1-to-1 with qualified guides from Gaia Guides, and they do some accuracy casting, and they get a little card to take round with them. They get some freebies, and then they go and shoot an air rifle at a little target, and I think they have, I can't remember how many shots they have, and I think it's 3. I might be wrong, I'll probably get corrected, it might be 5. And then they also have a shot with shotgun at clays, all with fully qualified coaches. So it gets people that aren't interested in field sports at all, that just want to try out various different outdoor activities. And it's aimed, as you say, 21 below, but mostly kids. And we've done a couple of events. I got involved with Cara through it and started to support it. We were down on McClure Beat on the Tay and did something with the fishing, and that was really well attended. I can't remember, I think there was about 18 people came, parents came and stuff with their barbecue and whatnot. And we've done it at Moy Game Fair up this way as well, and kind of COVID's knocked the shows on the head, so we're hoping to do some stuff, and there'll be plans and we'll get stuff out. But yeah, that's what it is, and it's really, really good. The concept's just drags people in, and once they try it, they're just absolutely hooked.
Well, can I give you some feedback? We had Caden, who was age 9. He said the clay pigeon shooting was the best. We had Ewan, all of 10. He said, I thought it was fun because there were so many things to do. And Mum, Mrs. Harrison, said the boys have had a great day and both would really like to try fly fishing for trout. Everybody, if you want to actually find out any more about the Scottish Youth and Countryside Education Trust, you can just go, the domain name is sycet.co.uk, and they're also on Facebook, they're also on Instagram, and their vision is to increase young people's understanding of working countryside in Scotland. It's absolutely fabulous.
It's great, Anne, because as I say, you don't need to have that background or access to it. And I think some of the country sports people perceive to be big money sports like salmon fishing and whatnot, but there's actually quite a lot of access out there. It's just finding the mediums that will give you that access. And I know Mark spoke about it. They had the youth thing on the D down at, I think it was Martinsbeat, wasn't it? Middle Blackhall, Inchmarlow. Yeah. And I couldn't go to that one, unfortunately. I was a bit gutted. But, I mean, these things are so important. I know some other brands do it as well. But to get brands that will support that and try and keep the sport going, for me, that's what's important. I think everybody says it, and it sounds a bit cliched, but it's not. That, you know, that generation is the future of the sport. Without that generation, there is no future. It's as simple as that for me.
Definitely. And also, as well, as you're on Talk Sport tomorrow as well at 12:30.
That's your fault.
On the homework challenge.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, because like, if anybody that ever gets a chance to watch this, I was ever at any of the schools with, they'll probably be scratching their head at the moment going, he's supporting education at schools. But that's your fault. Yeah, you've dragged me into that tomorrow at 12:30. So talking about tying knots and how we're going to do that on radio, Anne.
Yeah, well, you are coming live on Talk Sport tomorrow at 12:30, and the presenter Mike will actually have a bootlace, and you're actually going to teach him how to actually do some knots. So we're all looking forward to that. We will also be highlighting that on our FishPal page, just so that so we can see you again, Ali. But also as well is that obviously getting kids into fishing, the country shows, tying just amazing flies, and thank you so much for my lightning lady. You're just a busy chap, aren't you?
Yeah. Am I any busier than anybody else? I don't know, Anne. I probably just look busy sometimes, but I think we're busy because we're passionate about it. And I think that's probably why I get on so well with my other half, because she's passionate about country sports and outdoor in general. And I think when you share, I said it on the film, when you share a passion for something, it brings people closer together. And I think that's also a little bit, I don't know if addictive's the right word, but certainly, you know, we talked about people like Mark with his passion for the knowledge behind the scenes, Mark Patterson, James Stokoe. You know, when you see James's passion for fishing, I mean, if you're not pulled in by that, then you're never going to be pulled in by anything. I mean, I'm just an old guy that likes to go fishing, whereas, you know, James is a bit more appealing to folk on the eye. But I mean, there are so many people that share our passion for the sport. I mean, I mentioned Ian Gordon as well. I mean, Ian Gordon's knowledge about fishing and some of the things he's done, these guys are really humble.
Yeah, well, I've got a question from Rodriguez, and he said, what advice would you give us to get closer to young people and add more followers? We're starting with a non-profit fly fishing club. So well done there, Rodriguez, as well.
That's a good question. And the only advice I would offer, and I don't want to sound all knowledgeable or not, but I would share my experiences. You need people with a passion for the sport that are not in it for a short-term gain. You need to be committed to it. I mean, Anne, you're an example of that. You've been in the business now for a while. And if you don't keep your passion and stick with it when it's going tough, it's doomed from the beginning. And all I would say is never lose faith in it, because every moment where I think, oh, you know what, it's a bit of a slog this year, something will happen around the corner. One of the kids will say something, or one of your guests will say something. You actually sit there in front of the fire at night with a dram and think, you know what, it's pretty much all worth it. So all I would say is choose the right people, make it accessible, and make it as free as you can. And I think if you start knocking on doors, you'll actually be quite surprised that the people that do have the resource and the access to things like fishing will open them to you if you approach them in the right way. And I think that's really the only advice I can give you.
And also, as well as the wonderful Cara, she's come on, your partner or fiance, and she has said that the Junior McNabb Challenge is the brainchild of the Countryside Tourism Group Scotland. And Rodriguez, get in touch with the likes of the Countryside Tourism Group Scotland, because they are so knowledgeable and you know, they're really, really good. So that is sitting in there as well. And thank you, Cara, for that. And thank you as well for pointing that out, because it's so important to recognise everybody who's actually involved with this as well. I'm going to finish on this because it did make me giggle when it came in, and I'm just trying to find it. Okay. Gordo said you actually inspired him when he started fly tying. Okay. Cliff Orr, he said it's a great bird behind you, Ali. He says if you just duck down a bit, you look like you're wearing a fascinator. We did have...
There's a story behind that bird, actually, Anne. It was actually, Cara used to live on an estate, and she was on a shoot, and it was the last shoot on ever to be on that estate. It got purchased, a long story, but anyway, and Cara actually shot that bird, and she shot some others as well, which we ate, because if we shoot something, we eat it. But that one we decided. So I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but there is a story behind that. I know it looks pretty funny on your head, but the trout picture behind me, that way there, is done by a gentleman called Angus Grant of Angus Grant Art. If you look him up on social media, he sometimes does some exhibitions at various places, but fantastic. And Cara got me that as a gift, and I'll cherish that forever. It's a brown trout in a local loch, but it's very, very good.
That is absolutely beautiful, because we looked at that earlier, and that's why I am just giggling, because when we were doing this earlier, and we do actually set things up, everybody, so it does look right. So there's a little bit of planning in this, that we were talking about that bird, and somebody's actually noticed it.
It's only a matter of time.
Oh, and the wonderful Rodriguez has come back, and he says thank you very much, and he's going to report on the progress of the club as well. Just email us, Rodriguez, as well. I'll direct message you and just email us, because if there's anything that we can do to help, we'll always you know, we'll always try. Everybody will try. And huge thank you as well to Maury to say it's a great interview. So, well, it's a chat, isn't it, really, Ali? It's a chat.
Between friends on.
So tomorrow you're off on Talk Sport, you celebrity. Where are you off fishing next?
I'm not sure yet. We're trying to get Cara's daughter Lana's away for a couple of days, and I think I said to you, she's fishing on the Western Isles, and I sent her a text message earlier on just to say that I'm not jealous one little bit.
Do tell people where she is, please. She's
fishing on Amansui and Garnahine. If all things go well, just conditions and availability and stuff like that. But that's the general plan for her. So yeah, she's very fortunate. So. Yeah, I'm a little bit jealous. I'm not going to lie, a little bit jealous. I've not fished those two yet, but and I know you have, and you've caught a fish on them as well. Caught
fish on both, so I was really lucky. I absolutely loved it, and went to see Gail Tunner, our wonderful Gail, who's actually in the Hebrides, and she's near Finns Bay, and I actually caught my largest brown trout ever on Finns Bay, and my mates hadn't even, I saw it out the corner of my eyes, and my mates didn't even get their line off, and I'd cast, and I goes into a fish. They went, how can you? We just stopped the boat and I saw it. Oh, it was just fabulous. I love that place. I love the Hebrides. If you haven't actually been to the Hebrides, people who are watching this, get yourself to the Hebrides, and Cliff loves your story about your bird as well. The pheasant.
I thought you were talking about Cara there. That's very kind of Cliff. But yeah, we're hoping to try and get some fishing in this weekend. I might fish on the Spey or head up north. But yeah, we're going to be doing together as a couple. We're going to be doing something this weekend. And then I've got guests coming to see me over the next couple of weeks. Actually, we're a little bit busy with guests. We've got guests coming from down south, and we've got some guests coming from abroad to come and fish with us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to going to see some different places with those as well.
And also as well, everybody, you do have an Instagram account, which is Ali_Hutchinson. Hutchins. And if you want to get hold of, if you want to look at going abroad next year and going to Newfoundland, when you see the photos, folks, that is one place that is totally unspoiled. Just get yourself onto internationalhuntingscotland.com. And you don't just do fishy, you also do shooting as well, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Cara's built this business up, and it's good. And I'm biased, obviously, but we do all kinds of things. People that don't want to do field sports also contact us and want to do outdoor things as well, and we totally support that. We're about getting people outdoors and supporting that outdoor and sporting community, and as you know, so yeah, I would welcome some traffic from it and some feedback, and if we can help anybody, we will. And even if we just point somebody in the right direction, that's what we're about.
Fantastic. And huge thanks for coming on. I'll keep you updated about Rodriguez as well, and look forward to seeing you soon, and I'll be watching you tomorrow.
Brilliant. I'll let you know how I got on with teaching somebody how to tie knots in their laces. I think some would argue I'm not clever enough to tie my own shoes, so yeah, we'll see how it goes on.
I'm so looking forward